Hello, viewers. Welcome to the second episode of StriveUp, the Startup Chronicles with nasscom Insights 2024. For today's episode, we have a very special guest again, Gopi Krishna, Lakkepuram, founder and CEO of Hyperleap Software Technologies or Hyperleap AI. Welcome, Gopi.
Thank you, Namita.
So let me quickly introduce Hyperleap and Gopi. Hyperleap is into the generative AI solutioning space, and I leave it to Gopi to explain the journey of the company because it's been interesting with some very, very thoughtful pivots. However, Gopi himself has been an accomplished technologist as well as now a serial entrepreneur. He started his journey and spent a lot of time with Microsoft, and he's been on the coding and development side through and through, after which he made a leap into the founding business, and he's been a serial entrepreneur. So, Gopi, welcome once again. And we'll start with this most pertinent question. I'm sure you've been asked about it many times, but help us understand the inception of Hyperleap and particularly the kind of pivots that Hyperleap has made to become the company it is today.
Sure, Namita. And thank you so much for having me on the show. It's my pleasure to be here. And thank you, nasscom team, for organizing this. So just to dive in, so right before Hyperleap, we were building a marketing product. This was early to 2022. And when we were building that product, we explored generative AI space. This was the first time when GPT-2 came out. And we were truly excited with the kind of possibilities that, that it opened up. And we were one of the earliest ones to get access to it. And now, as we started building it, I mean, we realized the number of things that we needed to take care to make it work, like all the platform stuff, and just all the frameworks that are needed to even build a product like that on top of generative AI. And in the process, we thought, this platform thing is becoming too huge, and it's not like our founding team had that domain depth when it came to marketing. So we are like, okay, instead of building the marketing tool, why not we pivot and do the platform itself, right? And that gave birth to Hyperleap AI. And ever since, we never looked back, right? So then we started thinking of, hey, how can we expose this platform as a SaaS so that other businesses can build their business use cases on top of our platform. And we were working on this, and towards the end of 2022, when ChatGPT got released, then we realized how big of a technology revolution this could become. And in November, we went all in with the platform, and then we said, okay, businesses would need this. If they have to do something in generative AI, this is the way to go, and let's build it in a very comprehensive way. And we were out with a V1 within like a couple of months. By Jain last year, we were out with a V1, a very basic one, which was like, let's take care of the prompt engineering. Let's take care of some, how do you compose these use cases? How do you think about monitoring, the AI interactions? How do you think about conversational AI, things like that? And we started envisioning Hyperleap as, the one-stop place where everything related to generative AI can be exposed as a service. And that sort of simplified our vision, because every time we thought about, what a business is going to do with this, the simple answer was, hey, can we expose this as an API for them to consume? And that way we are abstracting out all the complexity behind the scenes. And it truly helped that I was coming from an enterprise background. So that was anyway my core kind of skill set. So that kept me going overall. Does that help?
Very interesting, pivot within the Gen AI space, Gopi, I must say. So you went from something that was not very, core to you and your team, but you quickly identified an area where you could add a lot of value. I think this itself is a very, very important, very early identification, requirement for not just the Gen AI startups, but any startup per se, I would say, who's looking to find the right product market fit and then take that leap, as we say, strive up. So the leap comes from pretty much this identification itself. Thank you for sharing that. So now you've gone from something very specific to, as I understand, something very broad-based, which is a platform approach. How does this work? What are some of the things that your platform offers today, and what kind of problems does it really solve? As you said, multiple people can do multiple things. So there can be multiple use cases that your platform can support.
Yeah.
Just help us understand a lot more about what are the possibilities with your platform.
Definitely. So the way we position ourselves as Hyperleap AI is like an end-to-end platform, right? So when I say end-to-end, it's truly end-to-end. So a business comes to us and they say, hey, we want to be Gen AI ready or Gen AI powered. And that means when they're saying that, what they mean is that they want to build some use cases on top of generative AI. Now, with the large language models making news headlines every single day, and business is not able to catch up to that wave, it's a little worrisome. So when they come to us, they say, we have these use cases, we want to light them up within our products, within our internal teams, whatever that is. And then we want to see how to light up those use cases, how to compose those use cases, how to consume those use cases. So then we say, okay, here is a playground that you can use to connect to any model. So be it Anthropic, be it OpenAI, be it Azure OpenAI, we have a model agnostic playground kind of thing. So people come there, compose their use cases. They say, hey, I want to create a chatbot that offers customer service. I want to create a chatbot for teaching students. I want to create a chatbot for doubt resolution or learning path, or just corporate coaching, things like that, like different use cases, right? Some are conversational, some are non-conversational in nature. And then once they create these use cases, they can test them thoroughly. They can sort of freeze them. And anytime they freeze them, they actually can, in the sort of traditional sense, we have this thing called workspaces where people can collaboratively build the prompts. They can collaboratively monitor them. They can look at how the outputs are, and then they can rate them, things like that. And over a couple of iterations, they actually perfect the experience. They say, hey, this is how we want to do it. And then they expose it as an API. Now that's one click. And once they expose it as an API, they can consume it within their applications. Even if they don't expose it as an API, we do have like a ChatGPT for Teams kind of version. So throughout the organization, folks can start using these in their regular workflows. Now, if there's like imagine there's a bot that kind of brainstorms ideas with you. Now, this is a bot that everybody in the company wants to use, right? Because they have some ideas they want to brainstorm. There's a bot that can generate, or maybe not even a bot, but like a sort of a tool that can generate the specification given some high level design. So they can do that. So all these kind of tools and chat, we call them personas, they're all exposed both as a application itself that can be deployed internally, as well as to be integrated into their own native applications. Now, the way where we are going with this, right? That gets very interesting, because now if you see, most of the market is headed towards agents, as we call them, like agentic workflows and AGI sort of in the business context. And we see that pretty much all the time, where how do we automate this stuff so that we get to a place where a lot of these business decisions can be taken automatically. And what do I mean by that? Because most of the business decisions are very scoped in nature, right? They belong to a particular business problem, particular application, things like that. So in that context, we see AGI happening in the true sense, like autonomously make the decision, send an email to a client or do a follow up, or all these things can be automated. We just need some guardrails. So where we are heading is towards AGI. It's like a very sort of bold statement to say that AGI in business will be pretty soon available, but I think we are getting there very fast. I mean, we have seen the advancements of GPT 4.0 just a couple of days ago. Now, again, our playground allows you to just switch on models like that. So they announced GPT 4.0, the API was available within an hour. That the GPT 4.0 model was available in our playground as well for businesses to try out. So that kind of flexibility, people can move between models, they can monitor that. Like we provide it like end to end, completely comprehensively.
That's fantastic. That literally takes the technical entry barrier away, because you have everything on a single platform. But as you rightly mentioned, that a lot of businesses would want something like this, but they may probably not be still in a position where they understand a lot of it. So I know that you're also, as you're building this, you're also educating and making your customers aware. Help us understand, because whenever we talk about something like this particular technology, whenever a new tech comes, there's a very steep learning curve, and with Gen AI, the evolution of tech has been steeper, and people are or enterprises are still catching up when it comes to learning. How are you taking this to your customers in conversations? Are there challenges on the customer side in terms of managing their expectations, their demand? Do you find that customers expect something different, or they probably are not asking the right thing, and you are having to educate them quite a bit? How is that space evolving? Where have you seen clients come along in the last 1 year or so that Gen AI has been in the market?
Yeah, I mean that's like a billion-dollar question actually. So what happens is because the market is evolving so fast, most of the customers don't have the clarity on where exactly the value gets delivered when it comes to generative AI, right? Because most businesses not used to actually working with probabilistic systems, if I may call it that, because most of the time it's like, hey, there's an input, there's an output, there's some productivity gains that we get, even when it comes to machine learning kind of or AI kind of situations, right? There's still a probability and all these kind of things that come into picture. But when it comes to generative AI, it's very probabilistic in nature. It's like, there's the whole issue with hallucinations, like the expectations of the customers as well as with respect to the quality that Gen AI can deliver is there's a huge gap. And again, it's also about the cost, it's also about the performance, and it's also about like what use cases they can envision and make it work over a period of time. And considering how fast the market is evolving, one of the constant fear we see with the businesses is that how do I make sure that my investment is protected right now, right? And I am using OpenAI, and then tomorrow there's going to be a better model, and then how do I make sure that I can upgrade to the newer model without actually losing whatever investment I've made in the past? So a lot of these conversations keep happening. The way we lead it is like, of course, like not doing generative AI is not an option. That is number one, because if they're not going to do it, their competitors are going to anyway do it, and then it's like a race, right? So I mean, the first person to go to the market obviously will have that sort of advantage when it comes to generative AI. So that's one thing. The second thing is like when we are going and talking to the businesses, we want to ensure that we are always talking about uh, some of the easy use cases where there is a person in the middle who is managing or like who is overseeing AI, so to say. So typically in business use cases where there is no oversight, Gen AI doesn't do a good work because we have to expect that the generative AI should be like 100% right all the time. Now that is not possible at all, right? So usually in cases where, okay, there's a teacher kind of assistant. Now teacher assistant is okay because the teacher is anyway going to review what generative AI actually created, or like a assistant to a doctor. Anytime there is like this interaction between two parties and then one party still is getting to review what the AI has made, like maybe content generation, marketing material. So all these kind of use cases, they see immediate traction. But if we are giving like sort of a chatbot to a customer, now it can't be like 100% right, even with all the guardrails we have put, we have put about private data and all this stuff, try to minimize hallucination. It still is not 100%. And so we should have additional guardrails, try to collect feedback and all that. Having said that, this is what we are pushing for when it comes to customers. And sorry, what was the second question again?
So the question then was that once now that these challenges are there, customers are still coming up to speed with generative AI.
Yeah.
One was how are you addressing that, which is what you mentioned. The follow on question to that now I have is, a lot of companies would start realizing that the way to democratize access to Gen AI is through a platform approach.
Yeah.
How would you envision Hyperleap maintaining your strategic advantage? So, what would be your, if I may say, business mode, and how would you
Got it.
ensure that you kind of sustain that, sustain your competitive advantage? What kind of tech interventions? What kind of forward-looking, maybe talent acquisition things you would do? What kind of go-to-market strategies you may have? If you could throw some light on that.
So when it comes to the moat, right? So of course, the market is changing so rapidly. Like we can't have like, 1 year, 2 year timelines on like what is the general roadmap sort of thing, right? Hey, this is the product features that we're going to build for the next 2 years. We are evolving as the market goes. But broadly, we are still targeting, hey, how can we make a comprehensive platform that can help businesses automate things using generative AI? Now, the first and foremost thing there is that we have to be very comprehensive because it's a platform and our customers are relying on that. What it means is that we should be able to provide them with an end-to-end solution for AI integration. What it means is that we should be able to give RAG as a service, right? You can query your private documents. Then we should make sure that all your prompts and all your chatting experiences, the memory, the backend as a service. So we also provide a development platform, a chat application. So all of these things, we always want to think about it like how can we make it as comprehensive as possible. Now there are different approaches to this. What happens is there are sometimes businesses want that flexibility to stitch together a multitude of tools. Now today, if a business wants to go live with generative AI, they're going to take a small tool that only manages prompts, a small tool that only does the auditing. Now with that, they'll get the flexibility, but the time to market is really, really long because it takes at least a couple of months to go live. So with us, what happens is because everything is in one place, we typically have like, few days before they compose their first use case, and within a day or two, they'll just go live, and they're confidently already seeing the results because they like have their audit logs in place. They have their deep integrations using, various modules that we offer, and also the data privacy, security, everything taken care. And that's one way we maintain the moat by giving that end-to-end platform. The second thing that we do is also that the entire organization needs to be Gen AI fluent. And that is something that we take it very seriously. So instead of just merely trying to compose the use cases for the, for the apps to consume, we look at how we can expose these as tools within their own organization to be consumed, right? So let's say a marketing team can consume a tool that kind of generates their LinkedIn posts every day, or a sales team can use that tool to compose sales emails and follow-ups for their teams, for their clients. So all these kind of things. So that's the second part where we try to. So it's two-pronged approach. One is the API and one is the internal tools. And between these two, again, using that API, using that comprehensive approach, we still want to make sure that all the enterprise level security, privacy, and role-based access controls, all those are in place. And the final thing that we have to do being a platform is like always stay on top of our game, right? That is not a option at all because unless we continuously innovate, we look at the market trends and say, hey, this is the best way to do RAG yet. And this is what we should be doing inside Hyperleap so that our customers get the best experience. And this is the best way to do fine tuning. This is the best way to, sort of incorporate these models and make them available at the lowest cost. These are the upcoming providers. These are the multimodal opportunities. So we look at all of those things and keep on, improving the platform. Obviously, it's not easy being a small team, but we try and do that because internally also we use a lot of AI. And that way our productivity levels are like have shot up really high, and that we are able to maintain that rigor of constant releases and catching up with what's happening in the market.
That's fantastic. That's great insight into what you plan to do, Gopi. You mentioned something very interesting, which is you're a very small team, and I cannot let you go without talking a little bit about it because you're at the cutting edge of technology with a small team. How are you doing all of this with the kind of talent that you have? So without giving us too many confidential details, just a snapshot of what your talent strategy looks like, because that's going to be very, very helpful for a lot of the startups who will be listening to this.
Sure. I mean, this has been my playbook for a while now, and I'm open to talking about it. The thing is, there's a saying that a small group of committed citizens can change the world. So I truly believe in that, and I think that's the only thing that ever has. So in that context, we are a small team. We're just like 4 full-time employees, but we are always on top of the product, on top of the updates, whatever is happening in generative AI space, and then we try to incorporate the the upcoming models and expand the platform offerings and things like that. And anytime we see something that's non-critical, we sort of outsource it. And now we work with a different kind of agencies and individual freelancers, especially when it comes to marketing and things like that, which are not core for the product, right? And even within the code, right, even within development of the system, there are certain elements which are not too critical for us, so which are not too too much of an IP. Anything that's like, client-side code, we outsource that as well. So now there's a little bit of a R&D aspect. So for the R&D aspect, we try and hire some smart interns from top tier colleges or, freshers who have that, zeal of trying and experimenting with new things, coming up with new ways of doing things. So that always helps because, they are always on top of the game. They are very curious. They want to try out new frameworks as they come. So between, sort of interns, freshers doing the R&D, between our core team building the actual product, I mean, between some parts outsourced all over the world technically, because we find talent everywhere. Like we sort of our UX is done somewhere in Europe and our UI code is done somewhere in all over the place. Some part in Southeast Asia, some part in some parts of Eastern Europe.
Nice.
And so it's all over the place actually. So, but then we have that flexibility. So the way teams have to do it, if I may jump into a little bit of that, is how do you actually create tasks that are so granular so that you can outsource that? That's the key, because you can't like outsource like a month's work. That just doesn't happen because the contractors or the people whom you are working with as freelancers, they will not have that idea on how to execute that efficiently. So it is still the core team's responsibility to kind of make it into granular 4-hour tasks, 6-hour tasks, and then kind of outsource, find the best fit for that particular job, and then get it done through an outcome based model. That's what we have been doing for the past 2 years. It works well for us. It works great, in fact, like actually. So that way we can keep the core teams focused still on the the core IP that we are building as a platform, and we can outsource everything else, not worry about it. And that's how we are able to maintain some sanity within the company.
Wonderful, wonderful, and more power to you on that strategy. So,
Thank you.
viewers, that's a wrap on this episode of StriveUp, the Startup Chronicles with nasscom Insights. We had an amazing conversation with Gopi Krishna, founder and CEO of Hyperleap Software Technologies, a small company doing something very big when it comes to generative AI, offering it as a platform. Stay tuned for more updates from the Indian tech ecosystem with nasscom Insights. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. See you again next time. Thank you.
Thank you, Namita.